Sorry if the audio quality is horrible. The wind from the hurricane down in Florida is gusting all the way up here in South Carolina, about 30, 40 miles an hour. But this is a tank setup. It's pretty similar to yours as far as the size. I've got the big tank that's in the other video I sent you. It's over by the house set up. Getting ready to set it back up, put some more fish in it. But in here you got an oxygen stone in there pumping through, some gravel in the bottom. You can see the fish there. Got mine set up as far as the way the pump is set up a little differently. I use a sump, and I have the spillway set up like this where the actual pickup's down in the bottom. That helps pull out the solid waste and stuff that the fish let out, pulls it up through the drain pipe. This here is just an overflow in case something gets stopped up and goes back to the sump. But this part you can probably ignore with yours. This one right here, this right here is just a solid separator. Anything that comes up through that spillway comes into here, and it goes through a series of different size pipes, and that lets the solids kind of just fall out of the system and down to the bottom of this. And I got a drain down there where I unclog it and drain all that out. But this is what I was talking about, the bioreactor here that comes out of the solids tank and comes down into here. And I've got another air stone that comes off and goes to the bottom of this. And what this does is it grows the bacteria, like I was saying, that grows in your filter. But the stone rotates these beads like this here. Gives them a lot of surface area, kind of like I was saying with the lava rocks. But the oxygen really picks them up and kicks them into high gear and really helps them break down the nitrates and the ammonias that's in the water that comes out of the fish tank. And this is the filter for this, just a air conditioner filters. Comes out of here, goes to the bottom of that one, pumps back up through all those air conditioner filters, and gets everything that's left out, and it just falls back into the sump. And the sump is where I have the pump placed, mainly for aquaponics, but it also gets the pump out of your tank. And what that does is your tank adds a lot of electrical interference, a lot of electrical currents, kind of really stresses some of the fish out. And it also, in the summertime when it's hot, that pump puts off a lot of heat and raises the water temperature. In the wintertime, that's usually not a bad thing. In the summertime, it does, and the kind of effects hot water has on oxygen levels and everything. Over time, some of those beads have come through and they'll clog this pipe up and then they'll float out. But got the pump set up here. This is way more advanced than probably what you need, but some of the parts you could use that'll really help. Just you can do it on a lot smaller scale. That tank back there is just one I plumbed into this to give it extra volume for the grow bed that I have down here on the end. But I have the pipe that's a sump pump down there, like you would put in a basement. And it pumps it up through here, comes up, goes through valves and stuff. The T right here comes off and goes to the aquaponics side of things. There's my little air pump, and it's just got a valve body, pumps oxygen into the tank and into the bioreactor. But it pumps it up through, and I've just got just a little solid separator there just to catch anything that might come up out of the sump. And I usually have to clean that out about once a month because that sump doesn't have any kind of cover on it, and it grows a little algae. Anytime that water gets disturbed, it sends up chunks and stuff. So I have that there, and it basically just comes through there, goes through the separator, goes through a piece of PEX, and I have 2 elbows on there that drop this spray of water in there just like a spray bar would. I have a bug zapper there. That's what I use in the summertime to help feed the fish. I really don't even have to feed the fish in the summer because that thing just drops bugs in there constantly for them. And like I said, in the summertime, I don't have to really put any food into it. In the wintertime, I do. I have some fish food there that I put in a little blender that I scratch up and put in there. Right now, there's about 10 bluegill, brim, and probably 20 black salties down in there right now. At the max peak, at the max this summer, I had 30 brim and about 100 of those salties in there, and they stayed alive for several months until my sump pump burned up and went out. It got clogged up while I was actually fishing in Santee, and it got clogged up and cut out. I come back, all the bluegill had died. All those black salties, it never bothered them. They were some of the toughest fish I've ever seen as far as keeping them in aquaponics and bait. I cut one in half the night that I caught the big flathead I was telling you about. I cut one of them in half, threw him out there. He's laid on the bottom for 2 hours. I reeled him in. He was still moving his gills and trying to get off the hook. It's incredible how tough those little fish are. But when I was talking about the aquaponics side of it, what you could do is a very small scale of that. Sorry about the wind again. But I have that pump there on the other tee, comes off, goes to another separator, comes out and goes to all these buckets and everything. I got some habaneros here, some ghost peppers down there, okra, some rosemary and thyme, garlic. I had cantaloupes, watermelons, tomatoes, all that stuff in here earlier this year. And all this started from having a bait tank. I was having to feed the fish and they wasn't really doing nothing for me. And I was having, you know, kind of a pain of a time to feed them. So I had this kind of I started with a really small setup. I think I got another YouTube video on that. I planted some grass in there and some other things to basically, you know, keep worms and stuff. I could put worms in that grow bed and then feed those worms back to my fish. That way I didn't have to buy fish food for them until I came up with a little idea for the bug zapper. But the plants, they kind of help add oxygen back to the dissolved oxygen back into the water, and they also send they break down different compounds and stuff that are toxic to the fish. So if you wanted to do something like that, you could do a very small little grow bed there in the window that you were talking about, and just put some herbs and things like that you can use in the kitchen. At first I had some dill and some thyme. I think I grew some rosemary in that one also. Just different things. But this year I kind of went all out because I couldn't plant this year because it stayed so wet for so long. So I kind of went all out and done my whole garden here in these buckets and used the fish and to make the fertilizer for the plants, and it turned out great. Next year I've learned some things to try again. But back to the bait tank side of it, like I said, the reason I put the pump in a sump outside of the tank is for heat reasons and the electrical interference, electrical fields and stuff that it puts off can kind of stress the fish out. So I took that out, put it in the sump. It makes a big difference in your water temperature. The water this year, I kept measuring it. It really never got over 80 degrees. There was several times when I'd have the pump in there last year that it would get up to close to 100 degrees and the fish didn't do very well. I didn't kill very many of them, but they didn't do very well. Just kind of stressed them out. They weren't very active when I took them out, those kinds of things. But like I said, the solid separator really isn't something you probably need to worry about unless you really start keeping a lot of fish. Then I would look into building one of these. It's just a really simple thing. It's just a series of pipes. But the bioreactor is something I really would look at. They have smaller ones. They're called bead filters or bio bead filters at pet stores. You can buy those or you can build your own. Then, like I said, it's just a 3-step filtration process. It's just the separator, this, and then your manual filtration system, and it's just air conditioner media. And then I do have the little beads or the separators there. Hang on. Yep, so that's about it, man. Like I said, sorry about the sound quality. I may have to put this on the computer and do a voiceover on it. But anyway, man, I hope all this helps you out, and hope the water treatment stuff that I sent you, hopefully that'll solve your chlorine issues, man. Have a good day. Good luck.